Welcome to the Spider's Web here at the circuit of Barber Motorsports Park, one of the most underused racing circuits on the iRacing formula, but will be host today for the action of this, the Synology GT3 Championship, in just a couple of moments' time. Spiderweb has a lot of victims over the years, but today it will try and catch out a few unsuspecting GT3 vehicles here in the Synology GT3 Championship, brought to you by TMS Motorsports. TMS Motorsport offers a comprehensive range of tuning parts for all makes and models. With competitive pricing, worldwide delivery, and great customer service, visit them today at tmsmotorsport.co.uk. We are streaming live, of course, on iRacing Live and brought to you by RaceSpot TV. I am #DoYouMind, Jake Sperry, joined alongside by Mr. Connery Maddock. And well, Connery, as far as things stand, there are no cars out on track doing a qualifying lap.
Yeah, that isn't to say that everyone has done a qualifying lap. There's a car down in the 35th position, Peter Parnell, who has not set a qualifying time just yet, and he's quickly running out of time to do so. But looking at this grid though, Iru Nom not on pole. That's going to be Barry Bed for this moment in time, most likely, unless Peter Parnell can pull one out the back. But wow, we almost had a Bed front row because we were watching Tony Bed's lap time before we went live, and he kind of made a slight mistake in the penultimate corner that might have cost him because he got a 1x. That meant his lap is completely invalid, and he was looking like a good one.
It was looking like a very good lap indeed from Tony Bed, but unfortunately, it will only have to be the second row for Peter Parnell. He has done all 4 of his lap times, so he won't be able to go out again. So by my reckoning, the grid is complete. Just going to check and see if there are any cars finally out on the track. There is not, so we will be able to run down through a qualifying grid. Barry Baird gets pole position here, 120.130. Second place will go to Iru Nom, the championship leader. Tony Baird will start in 3rd position overall, with Craig Parks alongside him in 4th. Adam Shipstone with a great qualifying in position number 5. It's Benjamin Hackerson in 6th. Bram Reniers with a great qualifying to get up into 7th, with JJ Rimmer alongside in 8th. Craig A. Williams starts 9th, with Mike Mason rounding out the top 10. Bart Daleman will start 11th, with Captain Cook, John Cook, in 12th position. Simon Underhill will start in 13th, with Neil Bamber 3rd in the championship alongside. Lee Bunker and Gentleman John Roberts round out row number 8. Row 9 sees Soren Kroos, everyone's favourite Norwegian, with Philip Gregory. Bill Bedford and Jonathan Beresford round out the top 20. And looking further back, Jason Widrow in the 30 machine is there in 21st. Matish van Delden alongside him. Alan McCain and Ben Coombs. Alan McCain surprisingly down the order. Then you got the likes of Jan Letzver and Taylor Lane, Ryan D. Walker and Danny Thomas. Then you got the likes of Anthony Marsh, Rolf Just, Ryan Atmore, Lee Woodburn, Ricky Green, Daniel Bailey and Peter Parnell will round out a 35 car grid as things stand here. No cars out on track, Connery, but this is a very difficult circuit. A lot of hairpins, a lot of stop-start movement, and a very quick second half to a lap, which can be very difficult here from Leeds, Alabama.
Yeah, exactly. You kind of look at the track map and you think, oh, that looks like a decent layout, but the track map is kind of deceiving because of the sheer amount of elevation changes that there are on this circuit. You're going uphill, downhill, and of course you also have a variety of on-camber and off-camber corners, and that makes it an absolute roller coaster of a circuit.
It certainly can, and up on your screen right now is the driver's standings. Iru Nom is dominating things at the moment, Connery. He has himself a 109-point lead over Ben Hackerson. Started one less race as well. That's sensational. That just proves to you Iru Nom has done so well. 10 top 5 finishes, and half of those have been wins.
Yeah, exactly. One of the best drivers in this series by far, and this is his first year in the series, you have to remember. He was a privateer driver coming into this season. He's going to be moving to the Thrustmaster team at the next round. And, well, he'll be joined by a couple of others in that team, including Daniel Page as well, who is also already his teammate technically outside of the series in that Team Bushwing racing car. But, yeah, that should be very, very interesting coming towards the end of the season. How far can he get Thrustmaster up the standings? We will just have to see.
We certainly will. Of course, Teams Championships as well. We will have a look at TMS Motorsport. Hold the advantage as things stand. A 40-point lead over Synology. Bodine Solutions down in 3rd position as things stand. Then you've got Seagate, likes of Replace Base and Acorn Printing towards the bottom of the tables as well. Worth noting, TMS Motorsport have done a really good job in the last couple of races, Connie. They've really pulled their finger out.
Yes, they really have, and just the likes of the drivers in that team. You've got Craig Parks, you've also got Matisse Van Delden, you've got a couple of other drivers down the field as well, and they have really brought that team back up in terms of the point standings, in the lead effectively for prize money right now, because Thrustmaster I don't think will be qualifying for prize money since they're a team that entered middle of the way through this season. So it makes the standings kind of confusing to read, but I think we can go, Jake.
Yeah, I think we can here, and in just half a minute's time, we'll be gridding up then for the race here at the circuit of Barber Motorsports Park. 1 hour, 1 pit stop. So for those drivers who need to work on their strategy, that is going to have to be a case to be made here this afternoon, this evening, this morning, wherever you are, all around the globe. But Barry Baird in unfamiliar territory, some may say. He's got himself up on pole position, and he's done a very good job of things there, Connery, to get himself there. What can we expect from Barry Baird's driving today?
I think he'll take this one relatively conservatively. Even though he has such a great driver as Iru Nom right on his tail, I don't think he'll be taking that many risks. He needs a good podium finish today to climb himself back up the leaderboard. So even if he goes side by side with Iru Nom, I don't think he's going to fight that hard for it. A good finish is better than wrecking out of the race in terms of his points fight.
It certainly is a rolling start, remember, here today, and that is going to be crucial. You're not going to see too many tangles going off of the start. It's also worth noting that the start-finish line is not visible, but is marked rather by the markers post on the left-hand side of the circuit in between the pit wall and, of course, the racing surface itself. That's going to be crucial in drag races to the line. It makes our life a little bit difficult in the commentary box to know when a driver is crossing the line. And of course, with this rolling start, the league has decided to make a decision here, and it's one that not many people would like to do, but it's one that they will do here, and I do commend them for this decision. They are going to let the pace car pull off 22 seconds ahead. Of course, the recent actions that we have seen in Manchester, they are going to pay tribute to, and at Racebot TV, all our condolences go to the friends and the families of everyone who has been involved in that incident. They will hold a 22-second wait at the start of the grid to let the pace car go through and pay their tributes. And along that, we will also pay tributes with them. course, 22 seconds for the 22 victims of the atrocious incident that we saw in Manchester just a few hours ago, mainly 12, but they will now race themselves up back to the pace car here, get back in line. That might cause a mad rush here to get yourself going, Connery, and that's the only real downside to what we've seen here. The fact that they need to get themselves back to that pace car causes a little bit of a rush.
Yeah, they're a little bit lucky that they have a full pace lap to catch back up to the car, but I don't think, especially with what has happened, that anyone would want to try and gain an advantage because of this. You see that Barber is just taking his time here. He's just letting the other drivers keep close to him, not in any rush whatsoever, and we'll get this restarted soon.
It is worth noting that they don't actually have to stay completely behind the pace car. Once the green flag falls, though, they can get themselves off to racing. So Irunom will pull himself back alongside the driver of Barber as they now head into this very difficult section of corners here. It's turns 7, 7A, 7B, and turns 8 and 8A here. Very difficult naming. It's a very difficult section of circuit as well. It's down the hill, right, left, right chicane, which you try and straight line as much as possible. Has potential here for a lot of incident. Of course, Barber Motorsports Park, famous for two things. One, the Skip Barber Formula 2000, and B, the IndyCar race that precedes the Indianapolis 500. Of course, we saw that one on the iRacing service. Make sure that you check that one out after this broadcast is finished, because that was absolutely sensational to watch. I won't spoil it for you if you have already not seen it or have already seen it already. Barber holds the advantage here with the pace car. Irunom alongside now will have the inside for this right-hander, but will have the outside for the left-hander when they look to get themselves going. Of course, that pit lane is very difficult on the left-hand side. It pulls off of the racing line, very similar to Canada, but get yourself away. Green flag in the air, 1 hour's worth of action from Barber gets away. Barber gets a great one. Tony Baird, his brother, now tries to get himself down to the inside, and well, for the moment, Irunom's going to hold on to the inside, tries Craig Parks now up in, and they touch, and round is going to go to driver Tony Baird. Worst start possible then, as he finds himself horribly, inexplicably on the infield.
Yeah, and there's just a tricky first sector of this Barber Motorsports track, just embodied right there. Craig Parks just pushing a little bit of understeer in the middle of the corner. That is the carousel, and that can easily happen. And then just Tony Baird just got the worst end of the stick right there as they head their way. Another car in the gravel at the turn 5 section. I'll try and catch the car number right now. That is actually Adam Shipstone, the 046, having issues down in that tight left head in the turn 5.
Yeah, and everyone now struggling in the early goings there. Maybe their rhythm thrown off a little bit. John Cook trying to get past Bart Daleman here in the 039 machines. They head to the fastest part of the section. Lefts and rights galore at 190 kilometers an hour. Arguably, you could say here, as he runs very wide, actually, does John Cook, as Simon Underhill now will just sweep around the outside. No, he gets stuck on the outside and can't make the move at all. It's a very one-line suits all section here, this second part of the lap here, Connery, and that is going to be so crucial for drivers trying to make the moves.
Yeah, it really is. They head their way through the final couple of corners, turn 16, turn 17 here, and on to lap 2. The state of things at the front, it is going to be Barry Baird, followed by Irunom, followed by Craig Parks. Craig Parks has made himself up 1 position. Benjamin Haxon has made himself up 2 positions. He goes from 6th to 4th. A good run for Benjamin Haxon.
A very good run indeed. JJ Rimmer hasn't had the best of starts. He's dropped himself down the field from 8th to 12th, so he's down 4 for the day, but trying to get back past 3rd in the championship. Neil Bamber in the 005 will have the opportunity to go down to the inside then into the very difficult turn number 5 corner. He gets alongside and now gets himself out of that corner, Connery, to really try and maximize that run. Worth noting, though, that they are completely equal on pace here, and the inside line will always go to Neil Bamber.
Yeah, as they come down into the turn 8 and 9 section, these short S's here that go all the way downhill, and they manage to get their way through there relatively safely. Can't really go too wide through there. The racetrack does not really allow it, otherwise you'll just pretty much end up in an incident as it's single file most of the way down here. As actually we'll get a replay of the first lap instance. Meanwhile, John M. Roberts has had his own little bit of an incident going into the right-hand side Armco barrier. That's the 26 machine, just taking a little bit too much of the exit of the corner there, over the curb, onto the grass. Seems the driver ahead of him, Lee Bunker, but Roberts did not hold it. He hits the Armco barrier.
Yeah, we're just replaying the start here, and it's a very difficult turn number 1 section. You try and head yourself down to the inside as you can, but of course you have that very long looping turn 2, 3, 4 section that will always look to try and prove a few difficulties. And while the issue was about room on that inside, Craig Parks was trying to sneak one down the inside. Tony Bed was going to have none of it. They came together, and in the end, it ended in an instant for the pair. And that wouldn't be the way that they wanted things to have happened in the early going. Also worth noting that Adam Shipstone incident means that he had issues.
Neil Barber has had contact with the wall, the same wall that Tony Baird had an issue with coming onto the first lap of this motor race. Neil Barber from 11th this time, no help from anyone else, unlike the earlier incident that we saw. Just a whole bunch of oversteer coming into the long right-hander, taps the wall, but he'll manage to keep going and then getting that fast repair in the stops.
Yeah, and that means he drops himself now with Daniel Bailey just behind him. So he's now down to P32. This is the replay on screen, and you can see he just catches a little bit of oversteer, trying to fight it back, but the corner's always going away from you. So saving it is kind of like trying to milk a chicken, really. The hard part starts after you try and catch it. So for him, it's just going to be a case of trying to work his way back through the field. Bram Reniers, though, under a lot of pressure from Mike Mason here in the battle for 6th position up on circuit right now. And Mike Mason's going to have to stay behind through turn number 1. You can't really make a move in the early goings. This is a difficult circuit. Surprisingly, it deals with high downforce, Connery. You can't really get too much of an advantage because there's not really too much of a straight to work with.
No, there isn't, and well, I'm just having a little bit of a look at Bram Reniers. He's carrying a little bit of battle scarring on the rear bumper of that 35 machine, and it's not going to cause him too much of an issue, but he has been in the wars just a little bit as we have a look back through the field. Coming down through turn 5, here comes Jonathan Beresford, the number 19 car, looking for a gap over the McLaren of Soren Cruz. The McLaren, I don't think is going to be as strong at this track as at some other tracks, as there's so many corners here where the McLaren just absolutely struggles for grip, and we're seeing that from Soren Cruz. Jonathan Beresford is all over the back of him now.
You say that, though, Benjamin Haxton is in position number 4 as well, so doing a good job then for the McLarens. Worth noting, it's a 3-car breakaway at the front of the field. Barry Baird leads, Irunom 2nd, and Craig Parks in position number 3. Craig Parks hasn't fallen off the back of this group, Connery. He's just happy to stay there, happy to wait. But those gaps, they haven't really fluctuated too much. Barry Baird this time, though, starting to try and turn the screw. He now opens the gap to just over a second here, trying to break draft, but draft doesn't do too much around this circuit.
No, it does not, and actually the fastest lap of anyone last time by was that 002 car, Craig Parks, so he is on a roll right now. He got 6th in practice, 4th in qualifying, so he definitely has the pace to hang around with these top 2 guys. Let's see what he's going to do in the latter parts of the race to try and get himself further up that podium than he already is. Meanwhile, this battle between Benjamin Haxton and Craig A. Williams, this is getting very, very close. They were actually nose to bumper coming through turn 5. That McLaren stretches its legs on the exit of the corner, though, with the superior engine grunt. But Craig A. Williams will be back there ready and waiting any second.
He will, but he doesn't have the top speed advantage here to really make something work in this second half of the lap. You can see Ben Haxton just able to straight line the corners a little bit better than Craig Williams here. Williams is going to have to find a different way to make the move happen. Worth looking, though, at the driver of Tony Baird, trying to fight his way through the field. He's now side by side with the driver of Danny Thomas for position number 26 here. The 004 versus the 40 on the outside, though, is going to be unable to make that move straight away. Baird needs to stop getting held up a little bit. This is detrimental to his race. He got hit early on, but he's always on the recovery. Big wiggle, big slide, and off into no man's land goes Danny Thomas. He drops at least 3 positions, then 4 positions on that instant, and Danny Thomas survives for another day.
Yeah, and another scary moment for Tony Baird. You never want to see a car going off ahead of you because you can be collected in that same instant pretty easily. Meanwhile, side by side coming down to turn 5 between Hackerson and Craig A. Williams, and that is actually Hackerson through relatively easily. I have to wonder if anything had instigated that one. It's just a slow run coming out of the right-hand kink for Benjamin Hackerson that just let Craig A. Williams through.
Yeah, the McLaren struggles on putting its power down. It starts to spin up the wheels a little bit if you're not too careful. So for Ben Hackerson, drops the position to Craig Williams, now down into position number 5. compared to Williams' position number 4. Leading 3, though, still there. All together, Craig Parks a 121 flat, meets a 121 flat, meets a 121 flat. They are equal. They are paramount together as there's a small wiggle coming up the hill from the driver of Barry Bed. Worth noting, though, Connery, there isn't really too much runoff area on the outside. All grass as Ben Haxon gets a big wiggle coming out of, I believe that's turn number 12 on circuit. Ben Haxon starting to really feel the effects. Not really too much grass, not too much runoff on the outside. It's a lot of grass, it's a lot of gravel. It's very difficult to slow down once you make a mistake.
Yeah, it's kind of like an old circuit in that way. There isn't much tarmac runoff. As you said, you instantly hit grass or even gravel, and that can be very, very tricky for your drivers. One mistake can absolutely ruin your race. And, well, let's just hope that none of your drivers fall victim to that mistake. And I just am absolutely impressed with how close these top 3 drivers right now are. As you mentioned, the time before this, actually, they were all in the 21 flats. They are still all in the 21 flats. This is how close this top 3 fight is.
Yeah, it certainly is very close there between Baird and Norman Parks, but all aboard the Mason train. As things stands, Mike Mason leads the train from 6th position back here. Bram Reniers, Bart Daleman, John Cook, Simon Underhill and JJ Rimmer all in this train back to 11th position. So your top 10 battle certainly in full swing right now. Mike Mason, worth noting, he did get past Bram Reniers just a couple of laps ago. Reniers starting to fall back through the field, made a couple of places early on from certain incidents, but now stuck back in 7th position, exactly where he started again, Connery. Mike Mason's up 4 positions and doing a very good job of things.
He is doing an absolutely fantastic job, and he's one of a couple of drivers that have gained a good couple of positions over the course of this race already, only 7-8 laps in, and those include Lee Bunker, Phil Bedford, Philip Gregory as well, making some good positions up as well. And, well, those are only drivers inside your top 15 at least that have made some good gains. But again, this front pack now is split it up a little bit. Barry Bed has pulled out a few tenths of a second over Iru Nom. Iru Nom will try to close that under the brakes coming down into turn 5. He went very, very deep. But you can't help but feel now that Iru Nom is just losing Barry Bed a little bit. Bed turning the screw, definitely.
He certainly is. I've been looking at Tony Baird and the progress he's been trying to make. He's rounded Brian Atmore and now has to get past Ryan Walker here and Anthony Marsh. He's going to get a good run coming out of the corner. I don't think he'll be close enough to send one down the inside. Depends on how early the driver brakes. You can see that's from a long way back that Tony Baird is going to try and make that move. He gets along side by side, so a fair dive there that we just saw from Tony Baird. Baird going to stay on the outside though for the next corner. Needs to break the latest, which is always going to be difficult here. Stuck on the outside. Oh, they almost come together. I think they just did, and that was a very, very difficult one for Tony Baird. I think he may have a slowdown.
Yeah, I think he will as well. And, well, that was basically 2 into 1. Doesn't go. A little bit of door banging, but nothing malicious, I would say, as Tony Baird will actually, in fact, have to serve that slowdown penalty. But Ryan D. Walker hasn't got back past him, so maybe that slowdown penalty wasn't enough to let Ryan D. Walker back past Tony Baird as Baird tries to make his way back through the field after that earlier incident. There is a battle going on ahead of him, though. That's between Ben Coombs and Alan McCain. They were very, very close coming out of the final corner, but you can just see Ben Coombs as the superior straight line speed here, coming down the pit straight, coming down into turn 1. Alan McCain will go very deep on the brakes, but still not finding any opportunities to head into the carousel.
Alan McCain with the pretty pink wheel rims there, very similar to a certain Mr. Peter Berryman from Apex Racing UK, continuing on his merry way to try and make that position for P19, but isn't close enough yet, and has been trying for the last couple of laps to make a move happen, but hasn't been able to. Just ahead though, Jonathan Beresford looking to try and get past Mathieu van Delden here in the 008 machine. Van Delden's going to have none of it then as he attacks on the brakes and goes through the turn 7 and 8 section very, very comfortably. In front of that, Phil Bedford, Philip Gregory and Soren Kroos all together in a 3-car train. A lot of trains here today, Connery. Not really too many breakaways here. You can't really break away at a circuit like this, but worth noting again, front of the field though closes to just 0.8 of a second. Craig Parks though is being dropped off the back.
Yeah, the gap from P1 to P2 is fluctuating, but the general trend for P number 3, Craig Parks, is that he's dropping off the back of Iru Nom, and it's not what he wants. He's going to be losing the draft that will affect his lap times by, well, at least a tenth. And then he'll then be coming under threat perhaps from Craig A. Williams if he can make up the 5 seconds, which is the gap between them at the moment. Meanwhile, at the end, bottom end of your top 10, though, there's still this Mike Mason train. As actually Mason's going to try and break away a little bit here and not make it the Mike Mason train and make it the Bram Reniers train instead.
One less carriage coupled to the train just for the moment. Bram Reniers trying to make sure that he can get back up onto the driver of Mike Mason. Isn't able to. Ran incredibly wide through turn number 5. That was where the issue was for him. JJ Rimmer must be frustrated though, Connery, at the back of this train. And when you're a 5-car train like this, you have to feel maybe you pit in early just so you get yourself that bit of clean air to really make something happen here, because he's not able to make an overtake in these early goings. Once you get the power down and get to that overspeed factor, you've hit a corner again around here. That's what makes it so difficult.
Yeah, exactly, and that definitely could be an option that one of these drivers could explore when it comes around to the pit stop phase. We're definitely not within the pit window at this stage in the race. Meanwhile, there was a little bit of battle in between in the Jason Withrow, Jonathan Beresford area. Actually, I think that was Jason Withrow actually getting past Jonathan Beresford coming into the latter part of the lap. We'll have to see what has happened here. Is actually Jonathan Beresford having issues getting out of the final sort of left-right sweeper, going onto the grass, and that has just let Jason Withrow through.
Yeah, and that was just the case for Jonathan Beresford of being too greedy on that inside curb. That curb, you know, the curbs around here, Connery, you don't say too much about them. Very American. They're very low. They're very easy to try and take advantage of. But a corner like turn number 12 will just have such a high curve on it compared to everything else that when you attack it, it's going to be very difficult. Phil Bedford side by side with Phil Gregory, though. 37 versus the 009. To the outside goes Gregory, takes a double take. They go 2 into 1 and has to back out of it as Cruz now tries to get down the inside. Nose is chopped off and he will lose time then to Mathieu van Delden. McLaren versus McLaren, and Mathieu van Delden will have the inside. Cruz, big loser.
Yep, it's always very scary going down into the turn 8, turn 9 section, as Soren Cruz will have a good run coming down into turn 12. Not going to make the most of it, though. It's very difficult to go too wide through there, and these guys will just have to sit in their individual positions in this train just for now. Must be incredibly frustrating for these guys, as meanwhile further up the field, JJ Rimmer still trying to find some way around Simon Underhill, and that fact Simon Underhill is going to run wide. Here comes JJ Rimmer down the inside. This is the opportunity he needs. He's got to get a good run out here because Underhill has the outside line. He'll have the inside line for the King, but he'll lose that advantage when it comes down to the turn 5 hairpin, because Simon Underhill will have the inside line instead. Maybe we'll see a cutback here from JJ Rimmer unless he can hang it around the outside. He decides to try and hang it around the outside. He's still going to take it too wide coming down out of the turn 7, and now the important thing is he has the inside line for the treacherous turn 8, turn 9.
Yeah, and he's got the inside, and Underhill's going to have to let him go. He will live to fight another day, will Simon Underhill, and he'll just have to wait a little bit longer before he gets another opportunity at that one. So, top 3, they haven't changed. Barry Baird, Iru Nom, Craig Parks. They had negotiated lap traffic that previous lap of Daniel Bailey. Bailey starting to struggle here a little bit. Maybe had a couple of Baileys before he got to the race, but that certainly won't be the case. Barry Baird then holds the advantage, was 0.8 of a second. Now the gap will remain at 0.8 of a second. Look at that, 0.02 of a second between the pair of them right now. And Craig Parks actually gained 0.3 of a second in that lap. He's using that slipstream to his advantage here, Connery. Iru Nom, you could argue, is saving a bit of fuel.
You could argue that indeed. We won't know until the last stages of this race, in fact. Meanwhile, back in your field, Tony Baird trying to get past what is the car of Ben Coombs right now. He got past Alan McCain at some point earlier on that lap as they come across the finish line. Tony Baird obviously on this recovery drive that he has to now do after that earlier incident in the carousel on the first lap with Craig Parks, I think it was. And, well, he has definitely come off worst of that one. Craig Parks is in 3rd while he's mired down in 20th place.
But he has been making gains. He was down as far as 27th at one stage in this event, and he is starting to make some headway through the field. Look at that, his teammate behind him trying to get himself back into play. Alan McCain being a little bit of a nuisance. Great run out of the corner, though, for the driver of Tony Baird. Ben Coombs will have the inside line, though, for this turns 8 and 9 section here. As you can see on the brakes, right, left, right again, and then you're just trying to get onto the power as quickly as possible. It's nice to know that this is a wider track, though, Connery. You can really look to try and send one down the inside. About 3 wide you can go, and 4 wide in certain places. Look at the run that Bed's got.
Yeah, this is the run down towards turn 12. They're going to go side by side through here. No, Ben Coombs is going to back out, perhaps wisely coming through there, but that's going to make him come under threat from Tony Bed's teammate. This is the Seagate team of Alan McCain, and he is looking for blood right now because Ben Coombs is bleeding after that move as they head through the last couple of corners. There's also a couple of cars behind these guys that could come into play as well. Jan Milksper and Taylor Lane, as Alan McCain does get a fantastic run coming out of the final corner. He'll look towards the inside for turn 1. I don't think Ben Coombs is going to fight it. He's very, very courteous, just lets him through.
Yeah, he had no real opportunity to do anything about that. Fantastic battles, though, just in front of them. Beresford, Withrow, Cruz, Van Delden, Gregory, and Phil Bedford. Bedford taking a defensive line, coming out of turn number 5. He does well, though, to get onto the power. Gregory's not going to get very, very close to Gregory Greggs. He'll just have to hope he can make an advantage out of these next moves. They do have Daniel Bailey just in front to deal with here. Traffic becoming a little bit of an issue here for the group in front of that, though. In fact, that's John Cook struggling there and dropping a couple of positions. Looking at how he's done that, he loses 1 position by running 2 wide through the SS section.
Yeah, and that's easily done. We've seen a couple of drivers do that already, and John Cook is just one of the very many that has just been mentioned. It's just letting JJ Remmer through, so JJ Remmer is up yet another position. Remember, JJ Remmer did qualify in that 8th place position. He only just climbs himself back up to 9th, so he is recovering after some early race woes. He has 3 cars ahead of him that could come under threat from him.
Barry Baird is now turning the screw, a 120.8. That last time by, he took a full 0.8 of a second out of Iru Nom. The gap opens to 1.7 out on circuit, and for Iru Nom, that comfortable sort of area has now become a little bit more treacherous as he's now starting to fall off the back of Barry Baird. Parks has stayed with him here, but Craig Parks is running at his limit. But Barry Baird, he just took a lot out of the tyres on that last lap.
Yep, the only driver inside the 1:20s last time by, and he was well inside the 1:20s, 1:20.8. And, well, there may have been a little bit of... No, that was just lap traffic letting someone by there. I thought that may have been a password position for Tony Baird, and as he tries to make his way through up to P19. But when you consider first in practice, 3rd on the grid, it's not been a great day.
No, it hasn't, and Tony Baird knows that he's been struggling and wants to do a little bit better. Results like this are going to have to be chalked down over this season to try and get that recovery drive back into play. For your leaders, though, Barry Baird does a 120.9. Nom responds with a 21 flat, but still drops a little bit of time. But he is dropping Craig Parks. He could only manage a 21.6 when all was said in his battle, and now he is about a second back and is going to fall into no man's land if he is not too careful here, Connery. So, Craig Parks, do you feel that he should make an early stop and make use of the fuel?
I do not know at this stage in the race. He could try anything right now. He's losing and hemorrhaging time to Barry Baird at the moment. You have to feel that any strategy change is kind of worth it at this stage if you're already hemorrhaging time from the strategy that you're already on. As actually John D. Cook has made his first pit stop, the first scheduled pit stop throughout the whole field. So that basically signifies that the pit window is open. But I wouldn't expect, well, I would expect most of your drivers will just wait a couple of laps before making their stops.
Yeah, he's got that gap, though, here, and he's got to try and go 40 minutes on his fuel. He will be encouraged by the fact that he won't be using the fuel at the top of top speeds here, so maybe that is influencing his decision. Mike Mason still under pressure, though, from the driver of Bram Reniers in the 035 machine. Reniers looking to apply the pressure here on the driver of Mike Mason. Mason under that pressure, just needs to keep a level head, doesn't want to be making any rash decisions and making any unforced errors, shall we say. Mike Mason around turns 2, 3 and 4, shall we say, that long 270-degree corner right. Just get that advantage here. It dips down the hill and back up again, and that dip can be very unsettling for a couple of drivers. Down the inside, though, JJ Rimmer says thank you very much to Bart Daleman.
Yes, he does, and put JJ Rimmer up one spot back into his qualifying position. In fact, meanwhile, Simon Underhill has decided to head his way down pit road to top off that fuel towards the end as JJ Rimmer heads down through that very, very tight downhill chicane. Looking at the two cars ahead of him, Bram Renes and Mike Mason, those would be the next two drivers on his hit list. Obviously not literally, that would be a very, very bad thing indeed and would require an inquiry to the stewards. But looking at the rest of the field right now, those top three spreading out a little bit. Barry Baird is putting in some fantastic laps right now. He puts in a, what's the lap time going to be this time? It's a 121.2 compared to actually Euronom's 121.287. It's 100th of a second faster for Euronom. You're not going to win this race on 100th of a second from 1.8 seconds back.
No, you're not here, and that's something that Euronom has to keep in mind here as he looks to try and get a 6th race win plus of the season so far. He has been so good in the early goings about being up towards the top. Big train going on. That's Jonathan Beresford there with JJ Rimmer. I believe Jonathan Beresford has come down and made a stop, and he is lapped traffic in this essence. But the issue is he's got a lot of traffic in front of him. Rainiers, Mason, all there, all fighting, all scrapping. JJ Rimmer looks down to the inside as Tony Baird makes an early stop then as things stand, Connery, and he needs to get out of the traffic.
He also needs to repair whatever damage is on the front of that Seagate AMG Mercedes. He's going to sit in that box waiting for the fuel to go in. There's a car that did come out ahead of him there. That was one of the team Bushfink Racing cars. This was Phil Bedford. He's behind a whole train of traffic, in fact, is Phil Bedford. So not a great stop for Bedford. This might not be a great stop for Tony Baird if he catches these guys at a rate of knots and gets stuck in traffic yet again.
Yeah, and he will hope that they come down onto pit road sooner rather than later. Bedford sends down one on the inside and takes Danny Thomas out of the equation. Now we'll look to get past Rolf Just, one of the drivers who will be selected to go into the Thrustmaster team. Barry Baird at 121.6 that last time by. Another 121 flat for Nom, so that's 0.6 of a second gone. And Connery, he's responded to you. That's 1.2 seconds. Tell me, are you on the radio to him?
I don't know. Am I? Am I not? Who knows? But I think what Euronom's doing at this moment is turning on the afterburners because we are coming up to pit stops right now for your leading guys. So if he has any point to try and make some ground, it's going to be right about now.
Yeah, Rolf Just then still in that scrap with Danny Thomas. Tony Baird now on the back and is already caught within one lap. He'll hope that someone drops onto lane. He sends one down the inside. A very difficult place to make a move. Forces the man out of kilter, so he'll drop a bit of time trying to get that undercut through the final corner to the inside. Then goes the driver of what was going to be Danny Thomas, and Danny Thomas will say, I can't do anything against Tony Baird, and Baird will fly on through. That's Daniel Bailey actually getting out of the way. Phil Bedford just trying to get around him right about now. So Tony Baird trying to get through this train. Barry Baird, though, will be approaching on this train as Ricky Green runs a little bit wide, trying to get out of the way. The gap, 1.1 seconds now. So Euronoms will be able to get draft in the next few moments here as Craig Parks actually has dropped back a significant amount in that lap.
Yes, he has. He's dropped off about 0.4 of a second last time by a 121.6 compared to Euronom's 121.2. Meanwhile, Jason Withrow is going to come down pit road. Philip Gregory, in fact, is going to come down pit road. It's actually with Jason Withrow. I think there may have been an incident if I try and look for it right now. I'll have to have confirmation of that one, Jake, but he did not actually come down pit road. He was falling down the timing screens pretty quickly.
Yes, he was, and that will be a shame for him. Philip Gregory is down on pit road right now in the 009 machine, getting his fuel and not his tyres. Hopefully in this situation, haven't seen the Jackman go up as he gets himself away. Did start in P18 and was making some very good progress in the early goings right now. And well, as we see right now, Lee Woodburn has come down onto the road, but Irunom still there with Barry Baird. Parks starts to fall back. Craig A. Williams, though, he's been very quiet about his racing, but sitting there about 5 seconds back of Craig Parks, he's actually been gaining time on the leaders. He's been fantastic.
Yeah, he's been absolutely fantastic. How much time has he gained this time by? Not all that much in terms of catching to the back of Craig Parks, but the time before he took around about 0.4 of a second out of him. So Craig A. Williams definitely on the run at this moment in time from the period just before the pit stops. Meanwhile, Ironom is still watching, still stalking Barry Bed. 1.2 seconds last time by, still, well, just crossing over into 1.3 seconds just on the relative timings. And, well, Barry Bed is all, well, he just knows Ironom's there. A little slight lockup coming down into that downhill section. Not going to hurt him too much, though. He didn't lock it up for any substantial amount of time. Meanwhile, Jason Withrow is, in fact, down on pit road this time by. Let's see if anyone follows him back in the field.
Yeah, let's see if anyone does follow him. And the answer is going to be a very substantial no for him. Battle going on between the 048 and the 035. Mike Mason trying to get into a scrap with Bram Raniere's JJ Rimmer sitting in the popcorn seat then as they head through the lefts and rights then of the two chicane areas that they are heading through right now. One of the things that I do notice about this circuit, Connery, is how much art there is on the outside here. Loads of spiders and ants everywhere. It's just beautiful to see that they've taken this course and turned it into an art piece.
Yes, of course. And, of course, that is obviously more for the spectators than the drivers. You don't want the drivers being distracted, going, oh, that's a very pretty picture. And meanwhile, Bram Raniere is perhaps looking at the scenery, decides to hit the inside pit wall.
Oh, what a shame coming out of the final corner. And for me, he was just trying to get onto the power. Oh, he just got a wheel on the grass, but he was losing it beforehand there. And the engine blows up in his moment of madness. Also, that is the end of Bram Raniere, surely. In terms of his racing, he will be able to get a fast repair, Connery, but he's got to take a tow, and he just passed pit road, so that might be the longest tow that he will ever get.
Yeah, I just spotted a further incident down in towards turn 2 and 3. In fact, no, this was actually coming into the latter end of the lap. A major incident, in fact, involving Jonathan Beresford, Peter Parnell as well. And actually, Peter Parnell actually had nothing to do with the initial incident. Jonathan Beresford had his own problems coming out of the final sweeping chicane. He hit the inside wall, and then Peter Parnell had a sympathy spin as a result. And then even further behind, I believe the car Martins van Zelden also had an issue getting onto the grass on the outside of the entry to the corner of the right-hander that comes after.
Well, Van Delden did come down onto pit road then and make a stop to try and cover for it. Ironom and Barry Bed stay out then as they reach the halfway stage in this event. I did see an incident for Philip Gregory, had a big one up turn 13-14 area. So for Philip Gregory, that is a disaster for him when he was up so early. Bram Raniere has come out of pit road after dealing with damage. And oh, look, he's just had a Mike Mason.
Oh. Let's see how this turns out then. Mike Mason has got JJ Rimmer behind him, so Rimmer just trying to make up a couple more positions. He's actually made up another position, getting himself into 7th place from when we last checked in on him, looking for just one more to get himself into 6th. But looking back towards the front of your field right now, let's see if they come in this time by, because look, ahead of Barry Bed, he has a train of 3 cars, then he has some single lapped cars ahead of him. Is it worth him coming in down pit road now or the next lap to try and to avoid that traffic?
I think it is in this situation. We saw how much Tony Bed was going to get held up, and actually he dives down onto the lane. Race leader into the very tight and narrow pit road. Nom will stay out then 1 extra lap as things stand. Craig Parks will also stay out behind that, though. Craig A. Williams has decided he has bitten the bullet and will also drop down onto lane. Barry Bed will have one of the last pit boxes then on the lane, just 70 kilometers an hour, trying to get himself onto that pit road, looking, searching, waiting for that box, trying to hit it. He will have the very last box to try and go for. Hits it like a dream. There doesn't have to reverse back in any way, shape or form. Bed was a little bit slow on pit entry, though. That's something to keep an eye out and keep note on. Craig A. Williams will be looking to try and gain some time on Craig Parks here, Connery.
Yeah, and I just want to go back to Barry Bed being slow on pit lane. He looks like he hit the pit limiter way too early. The pit road speed limit only starts on the pit straight portion of the pit lane. The rest of the pit entry lane is you can go as fast as you want. So I think Barry Bed, if Ironom actually goes all out on the pit entry, I think Ironom could jump Barry Bed here.
He certainly could. JJ Rimmer is through on the driver of Mike Mason down to turn number 5. Now through turn 7s and 8s, he's managed to get himself then a little bit of an advantage then over the driver of Mike Mason. Will be very, very pleased with the way that he is making in. And there has been a spin for Tony Baird as Irunom comes down onto lane. So Tony Baird has spun the car in the penultimate corner. We'll get a replay of that one, and he's done that one all on his own. Oversteer moment, trying to be too aggressive, and he gets a tag as well from the driver of Phil Bedford. So last thing that Tony Baird wanted, a second straight incident, but the driver of Irunom will look for his box, will find his box, will drop himself down to the lane. Where is that driver who leads the race here, Connery?
Yeah, he's just coming through the final couple of corners now. This is going to be a close. Irunom still stuck in his box. He has to spend another 5 seconds or so stationary in the box as Barry Bad heads his way out of the final corner. Irunom will get himself going, and Irunom will hit pit exit. They're going to be very, very close coming out of turn 1, and it's going to be Irunom doing it in the pit stops. Irunom race leader with traffic ahead.
It's not over and done with, though, because Barry Baird is still within range and could try and get himself back in. Bailey gets out of the way. Baird was in a little bit of two minds there, trying to get through. That's about a 1 second swing from 1.4 lead getting down onto the road. So he lost 2 seconds in that stop, fiddling around with trying to get himself down onto pit road. Craig Parks then will inherit the race lead as things stands. When will he drop himself onto the lane? Not yet. He stays out another lap here, Connery.
Yes, he does, and well, I don't know if he is going to jump Barry Baird here, but he definitely is going to gain a whole bunch of time due to Barry Baird's, well, mistake coming down onto pit road as Creekbox does get past the little bit of traffic there. That was Matthijs van Zelden that he had to get past coming down into turn 1. He has a little bit of traffic ahead of him. The likes of Danny Thomas, Jason Withrow, Rolf Just, Jonathan Beresford are all ahead, and many, many, many others. I think he's going to come down pit road this time by.
Yeah, I think he has to in this situation, so not really too much that he has to do, but there's a fantastic 5-car train as well. John Cook, Jan Letzever, Simon Underhill, Taylor Lane and Ben Coombs. Some have pitted, some haven't, so they all are working with each other. Some are trying to get against each other here in this one. They are about P11 right now, down towards us. Actually, one's going to dive down onto the lane, I believe. That's the driver of Taylor Lane, who's decided it's time to drop down onto pit lane. Craig Parks, though, he's got that traffic ahead of him, needs to work around it. The likes of Withrow, the likes of Just, who have been fighting. So for Craig Parks, he's now hit the same traffic as what has been ahead of him. I do believe that he should come down onto pit road this time by. There's not too much longer he can go on the fuel. Rounds that right-hander, but stays out another lap, Connery.
Very interesting decision. I think he may be on the borderline of actually hitting this traffic this time by. We'll have to wait and see, but I think this is a slight mistake here from Craig Parks. I think he is going to, in fact, catch this traffic by the end of the lap, and then he'll be losing time to the battle for the race lead and second place between Irunom and Barry Baird. So, if you want my opinion, I think this is a mistake staying out.
Barry Baird has, well, not even Barry Baird, Irunom has his own issues here because he's got Bart Daleman just in front of him who hasn't pitted, and he is stuck behind him then running at around a slower pace. Let's see what lap time Bart Daleman did last time by. It's a 22.7, and 22.7s aren't lighting the world on fire, shall we say, for Irunom, who did a 21.5. And you can see the door was open, but he doesn't have to let the position go, does Bart Daleman. Needs a good run, does Irunom, to try and get that distance between him and Barry Baird. Will Daleman fight it, though? He is not going to fight it. He's going to leave the door wide open down onto the inside, into the corner. Daleman's, though, is going to try and hold that outside line. He's just got about enough of a nose to send himself back through when they head towards turn 7 and 8. Daleman is not done and is fighting the race leader. This is slowing him down a lot, especially into 7 and 8. And look at that, Barry Baird right back there again in terms of this one. And they all bottleneck up, and that's going to cost them a load of time.
Yeah, absolutely unbelievable here. Well, not lap traffic, but drivers that haven't pitted, fighting with drivers that have pitted. They're, of course, well within their rights to defend their position. They're battling for the position. But wow, this is some strange scenes we're seeing here. iRacing having a little bit of damage to his rear right sort of bumper there. Meanwhile, Craig Parks has stayed out yet again, and now he's going to get caught in that traffic, which he is right now. He just managed to get himself past Danny Thomas. He has a couple of cars ahead of him that he has to be concerned about. Meanwhile, this battle between iRacing and Bart Daleman is still going to be going on, because Bart Daleman hasn't decided to come down pit road just yet, and iRacing has to be very, very careful with the way he deals with this.
He was 2 seconds slower on that last lap, was iRacing and Barry Baird, so both of them are running into a load of issues. Craig Parks is now back in this fight if he decides to pit very, very soon. He has that potential. Daleman, though, still versus iRacing. And this is the thing. Nom's going to go deep down to the inside. Too deep. They touch. And Daleman will lose out on the position. But Nom found his way through. That was very ambitious from iRacing. And the stewards might have a word to say about that. Craig Parks rounds himself now around the penultimate corner. Will he try and dive himself onto the lane? He can't. So he'll stay out one more time.
Yeah, that was very, very, very deep on the brakes for iRacing. Pushed out to the outside line where Bart Daleman was. Bart Daleman left an acre and a half on the inside line for iRacing to go if he so wished. But iRacing went way too hot into the corner, and that has resulted in a little bit of contact on the outside of turn 5 that we've just seen. A little bit of damage to iRacing's car. We'll have to wonder how much that is going to be affecting him. But you have to remember there's a little bit of damage to the front of Barry Baird's car as well, as neither of them head down pit road to get repairs fixed. There's actually a car behind them quickly down pit road. Finally, Bart Daleman decides to head his way down pit road. Mike Mason is also going to head his way down pit road as well. And now this is throwing a spanner into the works, Jake. Craig Parks could come out ahead if he's negotiated this traffic fast enough so that he can capitalize on iRacing and Barry Baird getting held up.
Gap between iRacing and Craig Parks is about 31.1 seconds. That might be enough on the lane. Nom now finds Ryan Atmore as lap traffic will get around as Atmore drops himself away. Barry Baird here is sitting and waiting very pretty in terms of this one, and he'll just be worrying about whether anything like that will happen again. Craig Parks rounds turn number 12. 13 and 14 will continue for him, and turn 15 will be the decider on when he comes down onto the road. In fact, he'll dive down now and try and make that stop. Has he got enough here to bring himself back into that battle? There is one car ahead of him on pit road. That's Ryan Walker. A spin for Soren Kroos as well, coming out to the final corner. We'll keep an eye on that one as he's crabbing very, very heavily. He has huge damage to Kroos.
Yes, he does. Meanwhile, iRacing heads his way down into the turn 12, turn 13 sections now. Meanwhile, Craig Parks is still down on pit and finally gets his car stopped in his box. Meanwhile, Barry Baird and iRacing round their way around the penultimate right-hand corner into the final left-hand corner and across the start-finish straight. And Craig Parks still has to stay in for another 3 seconds at least, as actually this is going to be very, very close coming out of pit road. But I think Craig Parks is not going to capitalize coming off of pit road. In fact, he has a little bit of traffic ahead of him as well in the form of Ryan D. Walker. Craig Parks not able to capitalize on iRacing and Barry Baird getting held up.
You feel he had to go a little bit earlier than he did, was being held up, and look at this, 2 cars on the outside then of him as he tries to negotiate them as well. He's fortunate in the fact that he's still in position number 3 with the driver Craig A. Williams still there waiting in the mix, and again having to go around the outside of Ryan Atmore here was the driver of Craig Parks. Parks just isn't getting the rub of the greens here today, Connery.
No, he isn't, and he's just having huge issues with traffic. Some of that self-inflicted by staying out so long, and some of it not self-inflicted, like the one we've just seen, as meanwhile Jan Miltsever and Anthony Marsh are going to head their way down on pit road. Some of the final stoppers in this race so far. Your current race leader, in fact, though, is Benjamin Haxon, but he's going to head his way down pit road for his one and only stop.
Very aggressive onto pit road, a kick of the tail as he rounded that section. Coming out of pit road, though, is Anthony Marsh, and he just about got enough clearance there to get himself onto the lane. Down into that lane goes Ben Hackerson. Hackerson now will take his stop, expected to come out behind Craig A. Williams here. That's the battle he's in. Iru the race leader, he drives on by. And the difference, 2/10 in that last lap. Now 6/10 of a second here for Iru. The difference here between Ford GT and Barry Baird's machine as well here, Connery, that of his Mercedes AMG. That Mercedes is very good on a top speed run. The difference is it's very big and bulky. It struggles in the corners. That's where Nom does very well. but Nom struggles with the fact that there's some very high curbs here.
Yeah, exactly. That Ford GT, because the ride height is so low in that Ford GT. Any high curbs, you're basically bombing out the car on the curbs. It's actually Irunom's going to run wide across the curb, coming down into the fifth chicane here. This could give an opportunity to Barry Bed if Irunom has a slowdown penalty. We'll have to see. He's not lifting up and off now, coming up to the right, left and then right hand kink on the back straight. And I think Irunom may have just gotten away with that.
He's gotten away with one, and that for Barry Bed was hope that was very, very quickly snatched away. Irunom just bounced over that curb like a bunny being chased by a Jack Russell. And well, for Irunom, he is a very lucky lad. I have seen so many drivers get the car spun out and chewed left or right from that section. How he's managed to keep that in a straight line, that is something that only the Mythbusters will know.
Yep, exactly. Meanwhile, the gap last time by has been, well, it is now 0.6 seconds, 0.6 of a second, as they both of them push wide in the middle of the corner. You see that from some drivers coming through the carousel. It's just a little bit of an ultimate line coming through there if you have the opportunity to do it, and no one is behind waiting to just dive down your inside. And now they head on the brakes coming down into turn 5. Barry Bed much more confident on the brakes, in fact, than Irunom. They have a little bit of traffic ahead. That is Anthony Marsh, number 27, Orozzi Team AMD Mercedes there, that they'll have to negotiate as they head their way down into turn number 8 and 9. I think they'll catch this traffic in an okay spot, but it may spell trouble if they catch it during turn 12 and 13.
It certainly may here as they're heading now through these SS sections, left and then right. And this is where Nom gains his advantage on a lap. Barry Bed is very good at the starty-stoppy bits. Irunom's very good at the mid-speed corners on the brakes. Right-hander, 145 kilometers an hour up the hill and then into this long, looping right-hander, 3 corners in one. And you can see there is that traffic of Anthony Marsh. Will need to try and pull out of the way on the pitch straight here. Nom just gets so much of a good run coming out of that corner here, but Barry Bed is very close still. He's pretty much nose to tail at this stage. 0.6 of a second down to just 0.2 of a second. Barry Bed now 121.2 meets 121.5. Connery, I wonder if you can find this out for me. Was there any difference on the pit lane time itself for the drivers of Bed and Nom?
Yes, there was. There was around about 0.8 of a second advantage to Irunom on the pit lane as well. So as well as that advantage on pit entry, he's actually faster getting his stop done as well. Actually a second faster than Barry Bed on the pit stop itself. So that was a fantastic pit stop from Irunom. Paired with Barry Bed's mistake on the pit entry, well, that's just put him ahead 0.2 of a second, almost 0.3 of a second.
Yeah, you can see again, very heavy over the curbs through turn 7 and 8. You can also note that Barry Bed was a lot more conservative, wasn't pushing that car out wide, and as such, the gap opens up again coming out of that corner. It just seems that Irunom has a better weight balance transfer in that vehicle down the hill. Maybe that's something that Barry Bed's struggling with here, Connery.
Yeah, it could well be, but he is closing that gap. He closed it around about 0.3 of a second last time by, as both drivers take alternate lines coming through to the entry to the penultimate corner as they head their way out of the final corner, coming across the line. Let's see what the gap is this time by. It was 0.3 of a second last time. What's it going to be this time? It's actually extended. It's up to 0.5 seconds now. Barry Bed losing time on that last lap. And you can see now he's absolutely desperate, pushing wide in the carousel, in fact. But yeah, he is absolutely trying to propel to the metal right now to try and get past Irunom.
Just seen a big wiggle from the driver of Lee Bunker. So Bunker, who has been incredibly quiet all race long here, Connery, is now up into the top 10. Oh, he took too much out of the corner. There was Daniel Bailey on the inside. Expect him to move a little bit more than he did. Oh, that so nearly ended in disaster for Lee Bunker. Bart Daleman just behind, of course, that driver who held up Irunom in his run to try and get himself through pit road. Daleman now falling off the back of this. Lee Bunker just able to be a lot more smoother, a lot more effective. Bart Daleman driving like a bull in a china shop right now, Connery.
Yes, that's exactly how I would describe it. As well as we look at some of the other battles throughout your field right now, that is not the race lead, in fact, because that race lead battle is actually extending out just a little bit just again. Having a look back at the battle for this is going to be P number 10. This is Lee Bunker versus Bart Daleman. We just mentioned it just a couple of moments ago, but it's still on. Bart Daleman is catching, he's not actually catching Lee Bunker. In fact, he's lost 0.7 of a second last time by, so Lee Bunker did manage to get his way past. And, well, the rest of the field is pretty spread out at this point. No battles, no close battles of note to mention, apart from this one between Jason Withrow and Max van Delden. This is P number 14, just a couple of tenths of a second separate them.
Yeah, a couple of tenths of a second. Van Delden in the McLaren versus that Mercedes AMG of Jason Withrow. Mercedes really benefiting, shall we say, from this difference here. And you can see how Van Delden is just weaving to try and get himself online to use as much of the track as possible. Defensive line taken by the driver of Withrow. Withrow will get a better run out of the corner, though, of turn number 13 as they head through 14 and towards 15. Van Delden will have to wait for a different opportunity. Another battle going on. Jan Letzver versus the driver of Bram Reniers. A little bit wide there from Letzver. Will allow Reniers, who has recovered from that big incident early on, to get back into play. He took a big break, though, heading himself through. Didn't end out the way he wanted. Gets a good run out of the corner, though. We'll have a look to the inside. One opportunity that's presented itself, Connery. And you know what? I think he'll have a good chance here on the brakes into a difficult turn one. They get close, and he gets the position.
That was very close indeed, and Jan Meltzer was the one that unwinded the steering wheel a little bit to avoid any incident that may have happened coming down onto the exit of turn one. And, well, these guys are very, very close to actually going a lap down here. Irunami is just a couple of seconds behind these guys as they head themselves down into turn number 5. But, well, these guys will be a lap down pretty soon. Doesn't mean that battle is not important, though.
No, it doesn't. And every point is vital in a 30-round championship, of course. The next time that you'll be seeing us here with the Synology GT3 Championship, it will be the first of 3 Endurance 2-hour specials. And the first one will come from Le Mans. And that is one of the most beautiful new additions to the iRacing service, and of course will mark the debut of the brand new Thrustmaster team. You'll have to make sure that you'll catch that one out in just about 4 weeks' time, if my memory serves me correctly. But battle at the front of the field. Irunam opening up a little bit more here for Barry Baird. Baird hasn't been able to follow as closely as maybe he would have liked to in the early goings. Because of this here, Connery, with about 10 minutes to go in this event, it means that gap has opened up to about 0.6 of a second as things stand. In fact, no, it's half a second as things stand here. He needs to be within about 0.2 of a second to really get a run into turn number 5.
Yeah, that gap has been fluctuating up and down for the past couple of laps, but it's staying around about that half a second mark. And, well, Barry Baird, I think he's taken a little bit too much out of his tyres. It seems that Aerodom in that 4GT is much, much kinder to the tyres than some of the other drivers on the circuit right now. What have you seen, Jake?
I've seen a big one between Alan McCain and Peter Parnell down into turn number 5. Parnell, I believe, was lap traffic in this situation. He has been known to be involved in lap traffic, but it was a late move from Alan McCain to the inside. And, well, Parnell, stuck in the middle of the circuit, had absolutely nowhere to go. And McCain ended up on the outside of the circuit. That's how far he went. And I believe Parnell found himself all the way in the rear tyres. That's how far he went.
Yeah, I guess you could say that Parnell was taking the middle of the racetrack and maybe let Alan McCain around the outside, but then the gap closed at the last minute and Alan McCain had to dive down the inside, and then there was a little bit of miscommunication from then on forward that has happened there in that very unfortunate instance. Alan McCain almost had another incident coming into the lap, part of the lap in fact, as well, he manages to keep it pointed in the right direction right now. Meanwhile, gap at the front is now down to 0.3.
0.3 here, maybe a chance for Barry Baird as he goes very deep into the carousel, trying to open out the exit of the corner, and he will open out that exit of the corner. We'll need to use that superior overspeed that we see as he hits himself 210 kilometers an hour, spin it ahead of Soren Kroos. Kroos having an awful day of things here and gets it all wrong out of turn number 4. Just got all of the curb on that inside, and that is enough to say that Soren Kroos' day goes from bad to absolutely horrendous, Connery.
Yeah, the leading drivers were very lucky that McLaren did not bounce off the barrier and back in towards the middle of the track when the race leaders were coming by. That would have been very, very messy indeed, but thankfully that did not happen, and we still have this fantastic fight going on for the race lead at this moment in time. Meanwhile, a battle between Simon Underhill and Mike Mason is going on. They're going to head side by side coming out of turn 5, in fact, and Mike Mason will get that position successfully defended with some lap traffic that are also battling for position ahead of him.
Yeah, and there, Underhill versus the driver of Mike Mason. That one going on for position number 7 out on circuit. Both of them have a 8-second gap to the cars in front, 5-second gap to the car behind of John Cook. And both of them have gained some really nice positions in this race. +3 for Simon Underhill. Well, +5 even for Simon Underhill, +3 for the driver of Mike Mason, as Danny Thomas gets a huge wiggle into the middle of the road, and a little bit of miscommunication with Mason trying to go around the outside. We'll get one, and look who's trying to get a second position here. Underhill gets just chopped off and will lose all sorts of fragments from that battle as he drops back upwards of about 1 second, Connery, in that moment.
Yep, he does. And looking at your biggest movers during the course of this race, inside of the top 20, it is going to be the number 10 car of Alan McCain. He's the number 10, and he gains 10 positions on track. Meanwhile, Simon Underhill had a huge tank slapper coming out of the carousel. This was trying to find some way past Danny Thomas, which is the lap traffic, but he just outdone himself pretty much, just drifting out to the outside of the circuit. Manages not to spin, though, but he has lost time.
Barry Bed's lost a lot of time, though, on this lap. He was held up in traffic through turn number 8. Noms tried to throw one down the inside of the driver, Daniel Bailey. Bailey was a little bit half on the racing line here, and that was an issue. Parnell gets a bit of a slide, and now Nom's turn to get held up here. But Barry Bed was held up earlier. Now the gods giveth and taketh away. Another big wiggle from the driver of Parnell, who has been very heavily in the wars, and Barry Bed straight back onto the rear, 1/4 of a second exactly as they cross the line, but again just isn't able to get that run as Nom takes a wider line also through that carousel.
Yeah, they've got a few more bits of lap traffic and then a train of 3 ahead of them that they may catch before the end of the race. We've got 6 minutes 12 seconds left in the event. Too far back for Barry Bed to make his way down the inside of turn 5, as he has a horrible middle of the corner there at turn 5 that drops him back a little bit on all of this run down towards the first chicane here. They have the lap traffic of Jan Miltver of the Acorn Printing team ahead of them, and well, he's going to push wide on the last section of it, but I think Uranom's going to catch him in a decent place here if Jan Miltver lifts out of it coming up the second chicane right here.
You will see this one then. Nom's just going to be so much better here. It gets a little bit of a wiggle through the mid part of the corner. Element of control is to run at 100% up this next chicane section. He will go and will catch him on the lefts and rights up the hill now. Down to the inside, Meltzer gets out of the way here for the pair of them. Battling it out here like two titans together, just colliding like Joshua versus Klitschko just a month ago. And now you see Iru Nom versus Barry Baird here, the Estonian versus the Brit, the 006 versus the 41 right now. And Baird, now half a second, is just not close enough and has been sitting and waiting, but Nom's cadence has been too high, Connery, for him to get even a sniff as things have stood.
Yeah, his only mistake has really been just skipping across the curves at the turn 8 chicane here at the Barber Motorsports Paddock. Again, Barry Bed's going to close up on the brakes. The brakes on that Mercedes much more effective than they are on the Ford, it seems, even though the Mercedes is quite a bit heavier than the Ford. Maybe there's a little bit of a setup difference there between the two cars of Irunom and Barry Bed's. They head their way down into this turn 8 section, in which Irunom got all wrong as Barry Bed hops himself across the curb as well. We learned that that doesn't give you a slowdown penalty, at least if Irunom's hop across the curbs is to be concerned. And Barry Bed, he's there, but he's not close enough to make a move.
Worth noting through that first chicane that Irunom is dabbing the brakes quite a bit there. I see his lights are going off like Christmas trees through the section of chicanes. He hit the brakes about 4 or 5 times to try and get himself into the corners. I wonder how comfortable he really feels. He's almost like a rally driver in the sense that he is balancing that brake with that accelerator. I wonder if he's actually left foot braking quite a bit through that section because he's having to gear quite a lot.
Yeah, maybe he's also just trying to play around with the weight distribution under the brakes as well, just whereas you want more weight on the front or on the rear coming through that section. As again, very close coming through the carousel, but absolutely staunch defense from Iru Nom at the moment. He's not going to let Barry Bed get close, but they do have traffic that is actually in fact battling ahead as well. This is Philip Gregory, Bram Reniers heading side by side, and they're just a couple of seconds ahead of your race leader, and if they're still going side by side when the race leaders come, then that is going to be a huge issue for Iru Nom and Barry Bed.
And in front of that, Beresford versus Woodburn, they come together, but they survive, and they're all there in a train of 4. Now Baird and Nom now will have to be careful when they negotiate this on the next lap then. The driver of Philip Gregory, Gregory Greggs, trying to hold on to this one. Bram Reniers just behind, trying to just make that move to get himself back into position number 17 after an abysmal incident earlier on. Beresford will hold up the entire train then here in second in queue. And look at Nom, he'll be the first to negotiate this and will be the hot knife through butter with not too long to go. We wait to see the time as they cross the line. By my reckoning here, Connery, there's not going to be long to go. Bram Reniers will send himself to the inside of Philip Gregory as they look to cross the line, but the driver of Iru Nom doesn't have too long to survive. He has 2.5 minutes. That is 2 laps.
Yeah, but he'll catch them at least at the end of this lap, so Iru Nom has to be very, very, very careful coming towards the end of this race. Meanwhile, Bram Reniers and Jonathan Beresford actually having a little bit of scrap, almost 3 wide with the lap traffic there, coming down into the turn 5 hairpin, and Philip Gregory is going to make his way through on the traffic as well. And there goes Iru Nom through on the traffic. He's back on the back of this 3-car train that's battling for position right now. And he has to tread very carefully coming through here, not force the issue too much.
Yeah, Baird dropped back a little bit through that section, trying to close on the brakes here. Iru Nom will have to try and get past Philip Gregory, and the Bram Reniers will get past Jonathan Beresford. Beresford now in a difficult situation as Gregory now chop the nose, does Barry Baird, trying desperately to hold on to 1 second to be within a shout of taking this one. Nom again, though, will try and get himself on the brakes, but he's going to be held up by Beresford through this section here, who will need to get out of the way as quickly as he can through this right-hand section. Will he let him go on the outside? Just about there. He will let go that driver, but now he's stuck on the inside, and Barry Baird is stuck trying to get himself through. The gap now opens up, and for Iru Nom, this could be it then. On the final lap of this event, Iru Nom's lead now 9/10 of a second, barring a mistake. I don't think Iru Nom's going to lose it. He's just got to get past Bram Reniers, and he doesn't even need to do that if he wants to win the race. Barry Baird just sitting behind, hoping for one wrong error out of a driver who is seemingly impossible to score an error out of. Nom onto the brakes, looking at this battle still going on, not close enough. Craig A. Williams is off though in this race, in the final lap of this race, and went off with a huge spin coming out of turn number 1. I don't think he has lost a position overall. The answer is going to be for that driver, no, he has not here as Craig A. Williams. Iru Nom though holds on, car gets out of the way of Alan McCain, who now goes side by side with Philip Gregory. Baird, he's running out of corners here to really make something happen. Bram Reniers is too far back for something to happen, but there is every possibility that every corner can throw something away. Just 4 corners remain for the driver of Iru Nom, who's looking for yet another race victory here, but this time at the Spider's Web. 2 corners to go, on the brakes, right-hander, and seemingly it's a smooth drive home for Iru Nom. 1 corner to go, and that's going to be all she wrote here, folks. Iru Nom will hold off and will use strategy to win the race here at the Spider's Web. Baird tried hard, but his best chance has gone. Craig Parks will finish in 3rd. Ben Hackerson, though, has stolen one from Craig A. Williams after the mistake, Connery.
Yeah, that was a pass coming into the latter end of the lap. Meanwhile, we go back to the 34. This is Lee Bunker versus John Cook. This is the battle for position number 9. Bart Daleman is also involved in this one in P number 11. They're coming towards the middle sector of the lap right now. Fantastic run for Lee Bunker. He may have an opportunity coming down into the final chicane. He makes it side by side through here. No backing out on the last lap. He kind of has to a little bit, though, as he'll have an opportunity on the exit of the corner as well. John Cook carrying some damage to the front end of that car. Another chop of the nose from John Cook on Lee Bunker as he tries to find his way around the outside of the penultimate corner. This will give him the inside line for the final corner, as in fact Bart Daleman will in fact make a fight of his own as he comes around the outside. It's going to be a sprint towards the finish line. Bart Daleman's going to get it.
just about. They touched on the way to the line. And Lee Bunker, you feel it was going to be there. Bart Delman could have had the pair of them if he didn't make that mistake through the S's section. But what a final battle that we've seen from them. And you tell you what, the Spiderweb certainly does all the battles and then a little bit more around here with everyone finished then here in this race. We're going to get ourselves then the official classified results here from the Spider's Web of Barber Motorsports Park. It's Iru Nom who takes the victory in the end by half a second when all is said and done. From the driver of Barry Bed, Craig Parks will finish home in third. Ben Hackerson will steal one from Craig A. Williams, who will be ruining the missed opportunity to finish in fourth. It's JJ Rimmer, a quiet race to sixth. Mike Mason will finish in seventh, holding off Simon Underhill in the end, who dropped back in eighth. John Cook finishes ninth in the head of Bart Delman and Lee Bunker, 10th and 11th. Bill Bedford will finish 12th with Jason Withrow 13th. Neil Bamber 14th with Mathieu van Delden 15th. Last of the cars on the lead lap would be Bram Reniers in 16th position. And then you look at cars who are one lap down, the likes of Philip Gregory Greggs. There you look at Anthony Marsh, the likes of Gentleman John Roberts, Rolf Just being 1 lap down, 2 laps down for the likes of Jonathan Beresford, Ryan Atmore, Peter Parnell running into issues all day. And cars that failed to finish, Soren Cruz, Taylor Lane, Tony Baird and Adam Shipstone. Well, for the time being here, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to step aside for just one moment. The post-race show coming to you on RaceSpot TV and iRacing Live after these few messages. Don't go away. The post-race show, after two juggernauts battled it out, but only one could come home with a race victory. What a fantastic race we've just seen at the Spider's Web here at Barber Motorsports Park, and Iru Nom is standing by with Connery Maddock.
I have this week's race winner with me right now, Iru Nom. You were behind for the first part of the race, but after the pit stops with that fantastic stop, plus Barry Bed making a mistake on pit entry, put you ahead, and you successfully defended from there. What was it like in the driver's cockpit?
Yeah, it was very hard. Ford has no chance here, so I had to take so many risks over the curbs. It was just luck that it didn't spin out, and my only chance was the pit stop to pass.
Yeah, of course. We saw you do a little bit of curb hopping at the turn 8, turn 9 section. Didn't actually give you a slowdown penalty, which, well, would have been a very, very bad for you, but it didn't end up happening. And of course, that ride height, as I mentioned in the broadcast, is very, very low in the Ford GT. And how risky was it hopping over those curbs for you?
Very, very risky. Yeah, it was on the limit all the time, every lap.
Well, that's yet another win to add to your collection. It's now 6 wins in around about 12 starts right now. I can't quite remember, but you're looking on course to pick up another couple of wins before the end of this season. And, well, just around time, we have the Le Mans race, and it's going to be the first of what they would call an endurance race, at least for a single driver here in this series. You looking forward to that?
Yeah, I've never driven GT3 cars there, but yeah, it should be fun, and I like longer races, so.
Yeah, we just have to wonder if your skill can last for 2 hours instead of 1, but that was Iru Nom, second on the grid, managing to come away with the race win as he has already done 5 other times this season, and we're going to hear from Barry Baird next, Jake.
Yes, we are. Irunom, a very avid fisher from what I can tell from him as a driver. Likes to spend quite a bit of spare time down by the river. We do have the driver of Barry Baird with us. Barry, what happened, mate? It all fell apart after the pit stop.
Yeah, it was I saw the back marks coming up, and I thought, well, I'm probably going to lose a bit of time. It was tough with the back markers around this circuit. There was a few scares for Hero and myself regarding back markers, and I thought, well, I'll pit. And should have practiced my pit stops going in a bit more. It was pretty poor, and yeah, it was rubbish. But never mind, really enjoyed it. Good race with Hero there, so yeah, can't complain. Closest I've been to him.
Yeah, certainly is the closer you've been to him. Of course, the Mercedes certainly seemed to have an advantage today around the circuit of Barber. That was proved by, of course, collecting pole position here. Not often that we see Barry Baird on pole position, but Barry, pole position today, you got yourself close on quite a few occasions. One does come into mind, though, the little bit of contact you had down in towards turn 8 and 8A with the lap traffic just ahead.
Yeah, it just caught me a bit by surprise. I knew we were going to catch lap traffic into that bit, but I think the lap traffic also braked very hard in there, which caught Hero out, and then I just couldn't. It's like the space getting smaller all the time. So I apologise to Hero for that, and I hope it didn't cause too much damage to his car. But obviously it was completely unintentional. But we had some pretty close encounters with back markers numerous times in that race. But it's just the nature of the circuit.
Certainly can be. And, of course, the next time that we'll be seeing you will be the circuit of Le Mans. 2 hours difference. Le Mans is a circuit which has so much heritage, and anyone who takes a win at Le Mans has to be considered a fantastic driver. Do you feel that Le Mans is a circuit that has been religiously practiced by you in the last sort of 5-6 months as it's been on the iRacing service? Do you feel that you are suitably prepared for it in about a few weeks' time?
I'm going to have to do some practice. I did the Le Mans 24-hour, so I know the circuit reasonably well. Haven't driven it in a GT3 car, really, so a bit of work will need to be done. But I enjoy the circuit, so it's hope. But I think it could be a McLaren or a circuit with the long straights. So it'll be enjoyable anyway, whatever the outcome.
We'll need the high gear ratio to help him. Barry Baird coming home second position. But before we let you go, any shout-outs who you'd like to give a thank you to?
Just obviously like to thank everyone, Bosra, all the sponsors that were able for us to put all this on. It's a great championship. Good to see the turnouts being strong every week, and may it continue.
May it continue indeed. Barry Baird coming home in second position. Connery is standing by the driver who finished home in third in Craig Parks.
Hello there, Craig Parks. Decent run for you out there today. Qualified 4th position, ended up on the final step of the podium. You were there and thereabouts with the race leaders at the start of the race, but you just dropped back a little bit. Were the tyres not keeping as well as you thought they would?
I was really struggling for wear on my front left because of the clockwise nature of the circuit, and yeah, Aero had a little bit of moment in the chicane in the dipper, and yeah, that spooked me a bit. I thought maybe I'm a bit too close if he does that again. So I knew I wasn't going to get past him. So I just thought, ease it back. Let's bag some points. And yeah, that's what we did.
Yeah, when it came to the pit stops, you had a rather questionable strategy, shall we say, of staying out even with all of the lap traffic that you ended up having to get past. Was that a Hail Mary attempt at trying to gain something over Barber and Irunom, which actually did get held up by lap traffic after they made their pit stops, but obviously did not get held up enough for you to be able to get past them?
Yeah, I mean, there are a couple of reasons. First of all, you get a point for leading a lap, so I thought, you know, what's harm in going a bit longer? And I looked at my lap times and, you know, 121.1, 121.1, 121.2, and I thought there's no point coming in yet. So I kept it out there as long as I could. I kept looking at the standings. I knew that they were in lap traffic. Thought I could make some time up, but unfortunately I took 5 litres too much fuel. Otherwise I'd have been a couple of seconds closer to him, but I still don't think I'd have got past him, to be honest.
Yeah, that seemed to be a case, especially coming into later on in your first stint. Those tyres were just simply not holding up for you. Now, looking towards the next race, we've asked this question to all the other drivers that come in for interview. How do you feel about this, endurance, in quote marks, event? Single driver endurance, of course, there's no team racing involved in terms of multiple drivers per car in this series. But Le Mans, 2-hour endurance race, thoughts?
Yeah, looking forward to it. I think it's going to be mega. 2 hours is not really long. You do more than that when when we did the 24-hour last year. I think the longest run was 4 hours straight in the HPD. So, providing it's a cool day wearing the Oculus, I don't think 2 hours is going to be too long. It's just going to be interesting to see how the tyres hold up. You know, test whether we need to change tyres, and it's going to be good. I'm looking forward to it.
It may well be the battle of who takes no tyres, who takes tyres at the stops during that race. That could be very, very interesting indeed. And, anyone who you want to give a shout out to, Craig, just before we let you go?
Yeah, I doubt he's watching. I doubt he's listening, but he can always watch it back. I did watch the replay. I don't know how you guys called it, turn 2. I thought Tony turned into me. I've watched the replay. I call it 50-50. I did understeer a little bit. So my apologies to him for that, and looking forward to the next race.
Yeah, I personally called it as you pushed out a little bit in the middle of the corner, but it's only the slightest of margins, and it's usually an instant that you quite often see on the first lap coming into the carousel. So it's not a malicious instant by any means. But that was Craig Parks coming home on the final step of the podium there, Jake. A good run for him. Despite that first lap contact.
No comment. Craig Parks did a very good job of getting himself up into third position. Of course, it's not our job to decide who gets a penalty. It's up to the fantastic stewards who do their jobs after the races are done to give out the points penalties or the race bans, what have you. It's a thankless job with a lot of abuse tied to it, but everyone knows that the stewards' rules are law. But for the time being, that is all we are going to have time for here this evening, ladies and gentlemen. A big thank you to all the drivers and all the teams that were taking part in this race. And a big thank you to every one of you who have been watching at home. Also, a big shout out and a thank yous go to Istvan Balog's camera packs for gourmets. Make sure you check those out. And Wern Designs, our official graphics partner here at RaceBot TV, and AppGeneer, our official graphics overlay partners with ATVO also. That's been Connor Ematic. To my left, Hugo Louis has been sitting religiously behind the cameras there, and I have been #YouMind Jake Sperry. It's been a titanic battle between two fantastic drivers, but in the end, the same old prevails as Irunom takes yet another race victory. Good night.